A remastered version of the cult classic platformer SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom launches soon. I'm sure most of you watching this video were either fans of the original game or the show and want to know if you should check out this updated version of a classic 3D platformer. So in today's video, I want to talk about what the game is, what the reviews say, and if you should play it. So let's start off with what the game is. They're saying this is a faithful remake of the 2003 classic 3D platformer. This is known as a cult classic game, like a lot of people consider this to be one of the better SpongeBob games that was ever made. So in this, you get to meet countless characters from the beloved series in roughly a 10 to 15 hour campaign. You can play as SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy, each have their own set of unique skills and abilities to help them traverse through the various obstacles and challenges that you come across. And the goal, of course, is to thwart the evil Plankton's plans to rule Bikini Bottom with his army of wacky robots. So some of the main features of the remake itself, again, they're calling this a faithful remake, but with updated high-end visuals, modern resolution options, and carefully polished gameplay. It also includes a brand new Horde mode multiplayer for up to 2 players, available in online and offline mode, and there's some restored content that was cut from the original game, like the new Robo Squidward boss fight. Now, thanks to an interview with THQ Nordic's producer during the IGN Summer of Gaming event just last week, we got a little bit more details and info about the game. He started off the interview by saying how happy the entire team was with all the excitement that the game has been getting prior to launch. No doubtedly, you know, there's a huge fan base for SpongeBob SquarePants, so when you say there's a new SpongeBob thing coming, you're bound to get a little of excitement. He also mentioned how beyond the updated visuals, like the fidelity of the game, they've also updated the style. Now, the game setting is based on the season 2 of the SpongeBob show, but also some content from the modern day seasons, as well as an updated art style to kind of match how the characters and the world looks in like current SpongeBob lore, basically. Talked further about how they wanted to keep the base game as close to the original as possible, but they added that new multiplayer Horde mode feature that we talked about in the features list to give something new and fresh to the game. He says it's this 26 island progression that gets harder the further that you make it, and it also includes 7 different playable characters from the SpongeBob universe, and he talked about how they had fun coming up with like the different attacks and abilities that you would have for each of the characters beyond the 3 original characters of SpongeBob, Sandy, and Patrick that were in the original game. And then finally, he touched on the fact that they got a lot of feedback from the speedrunning community, people who have been playing the original game for, well, since 2003, and really know it in and out in terms of the mechanics, the camera positioning and speed, frame rates, like all of that stuff. They really worked closely with some people in the speedrunning community to try to make this as faithful of a reproduction as possible. The game will be launching not too long from now, tomorrow on June 23rd, and it's available, the base game for $29.99. That is like the standard edition price, and there's actually currently a 10% discount on Steam if you pre-purchase the game. There's also a couple of special editions. The first one up is called the Shiny Edition. So besides the game, you get a SpongeBob figurine, some stickers, lithographs, and some socks for a whopping $150, $149.99. Quite a hefty price. But wait, there's more. The Fun Edition has all of that, plus a Patrick and Sandy figurine for an extra $150, bringing the price up to $300. Man, these pre-order things are pretty nutty, but I suppose if you're a huge SpongeBob fan and you want some stickers, lithographs, socks, and a few figurines of your favorite SpongeBob characters, maybe it's worth it for you. I can almost never justify the insane prices of these collector's editions. Now, I also want to talk about the developer because it's frankly someone I've never heard of before. They go by the name of Purple Lamp Studios. Their most recent game is called Misbits. It's this free-to-play multiplayer action sandbox game that launched in early access on March of this year, and it does have very positive reviews, although a relatively low number of review scores, so clearly not a very popular title, at least as of this point. And then prior to that, the other game that they made was called The Guild 3. It's this trade and life simulator that went into Steam early access back in 2017 and has mixed reviews up until this point. So not the greatest track record. I never heard of the studio or their games, and one game does have very positive, but the other one has mixed, and neither of them have launched. They're both still in Steam Early Access. But anyways, back to SpongeBob. Maybe they'll do better with this, right? That's an overview of the game, some developer insight, info about the developer, and launch information. Let's talk about the reviews. The review embargo has lifted, I believe it was earlier today, and so far, it's not looking great. Right now on Metacritic, it's got a 64 based on 17 critic reviews. And over on OpenCritic, it's got a score of 69 based on 39 critic reviews, with 44% of critics recommending the game. So what's the problem? Well, apparently, it's a faithful remake. Basically, all of the complaints that I've seen have said that this game is basically spot on, a perfect recreation of the original game, which they don't think was that great. So let's check out some of these reviews. GameSpot gave it a 2 out of 10, saying nostalgia and a new paint job aren't enough to save you from the dull, frustrating, and wonky experience that is SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. TechRaptor gave it a 5 out of 10, saying a clunky adventure that will only appeal to hardcore fans thanks to its antiquated gameplay and ho-hum additions. Pretty lengthy review here, but I thought it was a good synopsis from IGN. IGN gave it a 5 out of 10, saying Rehydrated makes an argument that if you're going to remake something beloved, it's not worth taking any half measures. Rehydrated's revisit of the iconic SpongeBob platformer often does just that. Rather than addressing any of the real issues with Battle for Bikini Bottom that could have been tweaked without ruining the spirit of the original, it leaves history intact at the cost of making this a better game, and its problems have only become more noticeable with age and increased competition. There are bright spots that remain fun almost 2 decades later, and there are pops of ingenuity in its reworking, but it does little to stand alongside the best or even the pretty good platformer remakes and remasters we've seen this generation. And I really think that's a good synopsis of most all of the complaints that I've seen from the reviews out there. It's a faithful recreation of the original game, but that original game just doesn't hold up over time. Really, that appears to be the biggest issue. Now, it wasn't all negative. There are some overall positive reviews in tone, like for example, Shack News giving it an 8 out of 10, saying it's a solid execution on a game that has only grown with popularity since its release. For those 90 kids out there, it offers a moment of relaxation, a short break to slip back to a time that was a bit easier than now, much like SpongeBob. I need it. And then Gaming Trend gave it an 8 out of 10 as well, saying that Rehydrated is a wonderful remake of an incredibly fun game. The humor and joyful platforming will have you smiling ear to ear, even if the game has more than a few technical problems. Which brings up some of the issues of the technical side. For example, I've seen a bunch of complaints about issues with frame rate, depending on your platform. There's also been some complaints about loading times. And then again, just like the outdated game, it's rather simple and basic, relatively easy gameplay is what a lot of people say. So to put it simply, should you play SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated? If you love the original game and you just would like some updated visuals of that exact experience with the addition of this Horde mode multiplayer, yeah, go ahead and check this thing out. But if you were hoping for like a new platformer that you've never played before, that felt like a modern day experience and with just all around good game, it appears like this really isn't it. For the time, it was great, people loved it, but when compared to modern day platformers or even modern day remasters and remakes of classic platformers, this one doesn't really seem to be cutting it, which is rather unfortunate because frankly, when I sat down to start making this video and I was beginning to watch some of the gameplay and check out the trailers, I was like, all right, you know, I liked SpongeBob when I was a kid. I never played this game. Maybe this would be a fun opportunity to revisit the SpongeBob universe, but by all accounts, this thing simply does not hold up. And not so much that, yeah, sure, a platformer from 2003 doesn't compare to a modern day platformer, but it doesn't even compare to modern day remasters of classic platformers, which is what it was trying to be. And it makes me, you know, it's a little disappointing. You want games to be good, but yeah, I think this one is probably going to be a purchase that I won't end up making. I'll save myself the $30. Too bad. I was looking forward for like a trip down SpongeBob nostalgia lane. I guess I'll be better suited just watching some episodes of the show. So yeah, all right. That does it for me today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.